Hey, what is up guys, it's your boy Twa here. This will be a video of a striker on a deathblow engraving. And for the combat stats we go specialization as a primary and crit for a secondary. The reason why we go for specialization is purely because of the energy regeneration on the esoteric gauge down below on the identity skill. Which basically means the faster that we get these orbs charged up is the more damage that we do. Because on a deathblow engraving you get one extra orb, and for every extra orb charged and then pulled into one of my two skills, which is my Q and my F, then I will deal a significant amount of damage more. And especially if you maximize this engraving, once I get to 1370, which I currently am not, once you get yourself all the accessories that are required, you can get an easy 3 deathblow engraving, and this damage will skyrocket. This also means that one of the questions that I have from another few people, like, oh my god, why is my striker not doing as much damage? Because I feel that striker needs a hefty amount of investment to be really on par with other classes that don't need that much of an investment. And with investment I mean you need one or two things, preferably even more. So if the class is all about charging your energy, then there are obviously runes that will give you your energy back. But the other part is that on the tripod skills you can gain extra specialty meter too. Now if you look at Korean videos, you will find that if they do their last whisper, which is my R button, completely fills people their whole bar. And that has to do with, one, the ridiculous amount of specialization that they have, and 2, the runes, and 3, the tripod skills. So is this the final form of striker? Hell no. And I would dare to say that at some point I would even take one more skill out to then get another esoteric skill in. But that is it for why this class is not as good yet and why it could be so much better into the future. For one, I don't even have the Omnium Star well through. If I have that, that's 40% increase on my last whisper, and I dare to say that would be near 3, maybe even 4 bars completion, so I can deal all of the damage that is possible. But now that that is out of the way, there are a few things that I'd like to address, and that is the rest of the engravings. Because I found that if you run this on absolutely 0 attack speed, 0 movement speed, this class has no potential to solo. It has no potential to really output as much damage as possible. So one of my favorite engravings on this class would be Spirit Absorption. This makes the solo capacity of this class so much better, makes the class feel a lot more fluid. But on top of that, there's another engraving that I will go for, and that will be the Adrenaline engraving. Reason why, you got so many skills that you can spam, which means that there is a nearly 100% uptime onto the extra critical buff, which I think is probably useful for all classes. So if you want to invest into your very first engraving, I think both Spirit Absorption and Adrenaline are quite good because they have no real side effects or negative effects, if you will. Then there's another piece that I keep using, which is super interesting, which is a rune, and I put that on my D button. The reason why I do this is because at this factor I, 1, gain more movement speed, and 2, I get to pop that skill 3 times, which means that the chances of the rune being proc are significantly higher than when I put it on another skill. But when it comes to rotations, there's not many things that I need to address, except for the one thing. I would recommend you doing your last whisper before you do any of your esoteric skills. And that is not only because you want to fill up your bars, but the other factor is that you will lower the critical resistance of the boss as well. Which means that if you want to have these big juicy crits on one of your best damaging skills, that would be one of the best options that you have. Outside of that, you can use whatever you want. There's a few tricks that I end up incorporating during my fights as well. And that is, to get behind the boss, you can use your W or D, which is your Sky Shattering Blow or Dragon's Ascent, to get behind the boss. On your Sky Shattering Blow, you get a little bit of distance gain at the very start of your skill. And the second part of the skill will give you the extra movement speed. Now if you level this part up, obviously your attack and movement speed will become faster, which will increase the output of this class quite significantly. However, I'm still at a point where I'm 1325, right? You shouldn't be expecting some end game stuff from me just yet. However, maybe within the future we'll find that stuff. Another part will be using your D button to get behind the boss as well. So the very first part of the skill will give you a pretty decent leap, which can allow you to both dodge or get enough mobility to get behind the boss as well for those juicy back attacks, get the extra damage, and something that you've just seen as witnessing what weakness level 2 can do to Armored Necrocina, and that is destroy its tail. I incorporate this one thing if I run with other people. If he has actually done 2 charge ups, which you normally have to stagger, afterward there will be a pure stagger, and once you do a Last Whisper in combination with a Fierce Tiger Strike, what you will see is that you can blow up the whole tail without even using a destruction bomb. So that's a pretty neat trick for the people that want to keep their resources to themselves. So here's where I made a slight mistake. No Last Whisper this time. Putting him up in a box. And that is it basically for a striker. Now, one thing like I emphasized on earlier, if I would get more specialization, if I would get more runes that will increase the acquisition of my esoteric gauge, what I would then do is get my S button out and I would put another esoteric skill in there, and it's up to you whether you want to do X, Y, or Z. Now the boss has just vanished and I thought to myself, is this really gonna be this way? So I ended up running to this thing, popped my awakening skill, yeeted him in the mouth, and that was it. So hopefully this gave you guys some insight on how to build your strikers, some emphasis on how to do well with the class. If you guys have any questions, please put it down into the comments and let me know if I forgot anything. That being said, have a very nice day, and I'll see you guys into the next one. Peace.